Section 1.4, Quadratic Equations. In this part of 1.4, we are going to solve using the quadratic formula. The first thing you need to do when using the quadratic formula is get your equation in standard form. That way you can identify what values A, B, and C are. Then you're going to plug them into the quadratic formula and evaluate. One word of caution, make sure that your fraction bar extends the entire way, even underneath that negative b. That's a common mistake that I see students make. Okay, for this first problem, the first thing we need to do is move the 2 over by adding. And now we can say what our A, B, and C values are. So A is equal to 1. Anytime there's not a number in front of your x squared, it's a 1. B is equal to negative 4, and C is equal to 2. So now we're ready to plug into our equation. So we start off with negative b. So what we're going to do is we're just going to change the sign of b. So instead of a negative 4, we're going to have positive 4. So 4 plus minus the square root of b squared. Make sure you always put b in parentheses like this. Minus 4 times your a value times your c value. All over 2 times a. Let's start with the inside here. Actually, we could just do 2 times a really quick. That's 2 on the bottom. So on the inside, negative 4 squared. Negative 4 times negative 4 is 16. And then let's do 4 times 1 times 2, which is 8. So that gives us the square root of 8. 16 minus 8. Now we need to simplify the square root of 8. I like to do that off to the side. So I'm going to just scroll down here a little bit. And square root of 8 is equal to, what is the biggest perfect square that divides 8? Well, that would be 4. 4 times 2 is 8. So the square root of 8 simplifies to be 2 square root 2. All right, the last thing that we can do, since we have a square root left, is look to simplify these 3 numbers. If we can divide something out of these 3 numbers, then we're going to do that. In this case, we can divide a 2 out of all of them. I could have put a 1 here, but I'm not going to put that. And there's our final answer. Notice that I did not divide a 2 out of what's inside the radical. Okay, we never divide out of that. For our next equation, we need to move the x over by subtracting it and move the 4 over by adding it. And then we can say that our a is 2, our b is negative 1, and our c is 4. All right, so here we go, plugging it into the equation. We're going to start with negative b, so we're going to change that to a positive 1, plus minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c, all over 2 times a. All right, let's start with 2 times a is just 4. And then on the inside, negative 1 squared. So negative 1 times negative 1 is a positive 1. And then 4 times 2 times 4. 4 times 4 is 16, times 2 is 32. And then we get, on the inside, just a negative 31. Okay, square root of 31. There's no perfect squares that divide 31, so I can't simplify that any further. But I can bring that negative out front and make it an I. So I've got 1 plus minus I square root 31 all over 4 as my final answer.